And today we have the Abraham Accords. And he's brought peace to the Middle East. So thank you to Jared for that summary, and it's been extraordinary work by a number of fine diplomats working under President Trump's leadership to arrive at today's outcome. Jared Kushner has been at the forefront of those efforts. Avi, Brian Hook, and others have put in just tremendous work under the president's direction to get where we are here today. And I know, Jared, you don't have a diplomat title, an ambassador title, but we don't have a finer ambassador, especially in the region, than Advisor Kushner. So thank you for those remarks and for the really incredible effort. I want to start by congratulating today the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed. This is a remarkable achievement, and the achievement is now will now be known in history as the Abraham Accords, or the Abraham Accords in the Muslim countries, or the Abraham Accords in Israel. It's something very special. It's something that doesn't happen very often. Very few of my predecessors as National Security Advisor have been able to come to this podium to announce a peace deal in the Middle East. It's a very rare thing. As I said earlier in the Oval Office today, the President is going to be known in history as one of the change makers and one of the remarkable leaders in the Middle East. And that's not something that you may have thought of when he came into office. But one of his very first steps was repairing our relationship with Israel, which had been badly damaged, especially in the last month of the prior administration. The president did something that was unheard of. Many presidential candidates going back 2 decades had promised if they were elected, they would move the United States Embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. President Trump had the courage to do it, and he developed wonderful credibility and a reservoir of goodwill in Israel. He recognized the Golan Heights as being Israeli territory and took those away from a very what could have been a very destabilized situation that we've seen develop in Syria. He destroyed the physical caliphate of ISIS, which Jared had said it was the size of Ohio. It stretched across the Middle East, and terror reigned because of the caliphate. He brought justice to al-Baghdadi, who had killed so many Americans, Sotloff and Mueller and Kasich and Foley. He'd put maximum pressure on Iran and cut off much of the terrorist funding that was going to proxy wars in Yemen, in Hezbollah, in Lebanon, in Syria, and throughout the region. And today we have the Abraham Accords. And he's brought peace to the Middle East, at least peace between the UAE and Israel. And what I have said is the president is often noticed as the greatest deal maker, and he wrote the book, The Art of the Deal, and he's considered a great deal maker, which he is. But I think history is going to remember the president for being a great peacemaker. He brought peace to Israel and the UAE. He has signed his diplomats signed a historic accord in Afghanistan. And I want to remind people that we haven't had an American casualty in combat in Afghanistan since February 29th. He used his offices and his pressure to stop Idlib from being overrun in Syria, and brought a ceasefire agreement when Turkey had invaded northern Syria. A lot of people said that when he came into office that there'd be war in North Korea, but through personal diplomacy, has kept that situation from turning into a kinetic event. So it's really remarkable, I think, when you step back and take a look at what this president has done on the peace front. And it wouldn't surprise me. It'll take some time in this environment, but it wouldn't surprise me if the president's eventually nominated for a Nobel Prize for today's work is an example of why he would be rightly considered and should be a front runner for the Nobel Peace Prize. So I also want to compliment the courageousness of Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince. You know, there have been 2 other great Arab leaders, King Hussein in my lifetime, King Hussein and Anwar Sadat, who made peace with Israel. And now Mohammed bin Zayed enters that pantheon of great, courageous Arab leaders. And I want to compliment Prime Minister Netanyahu in Israel, who was under tremendous pressure to extend Israeli law and sovereignty to portions of the country, but has stepped up against that political pressure to make peace, something that may have been politically popular, but he put the interest of his country and his people first. And so I think we've got some very courageous leaders that worked with the president to come to today's tremendous historic accord. Stepping back from what does this mean beyond the historic idea of a major Arab country making peace with Israel all these years after 1948, it makes sense on so many different levels. The UAE and Israel are both capable security partners of the United States and close partners of ours in the region, standing up to Iran, standing up to Islamic extremism. The peace agreement between these two countries will encourage and foster cooperation in those efforts. These are very innovative countries. Israel is called the startup nation, and for those of you who've been there, you feel like you're driving through Palo Alto, through half the country. The UAE is also a very innovative country. Putting those two nations together is going to create a dynamic of innovation and creativity in the region. And both countries are populated by incredibly dynamic people. There are tremendous opportunities that are going to arise from this agreement. Jared talked about the idea of Arab pilgrims and Muslim pilgrims going to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, going up to the Mount and having the opportunity to pray in peace in Israel. As you know, the president has made religious freedom, especially religious freedom in the Middle East, a centerpiece of his foreign policy. And this is a great step towards fulfilling the idea that the three great faiths that came from the holy city, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, will be able to pray and interact peaceably together in that beautiful city of Jerusalem. Tourism, with Abu Dhabi and Dubai and the other Emirates have become meccas for tourism, especially before the Chinese virus, the COVID virus. Israel is a great land for tourism. That'll expand trade between the UAE and Israel, which both have incredible economies. And again, as we recover from COVID, this agreement will help the economies of those countries and the countries in the region expand. And I think you're going to see an increase in jobs in all three countries as a result of these accords. With respect to the peace process overall, we've got a great team. That team is going to be fanning out. We're going to be working the phones. We're going to be in the region. And we believe that there are other countries waiting in the wings that are going to watch and see how the tremendous response to the courage of Prime Minister Netanyahu and the Crown Prince have been received by their people and by the world. I mean, I've already been on the phone with a number of European counterparts who have called to congratulate us for our role in this accord, but some of whom are astounded that this took place. And we also think that this could lead to a great deal for the Palestinian people. It's a people that the President of the United States, President Trump, has not forgotten. And he's endorsed a two-state solution. He wants to see the Palestinian people in a prosperous country of their own. And the groundwork has been laid for that. So I think we'll be working very hard on those efforts in the coming months and year. So again, today's a great day. It's a great day for the people of the UAE. It's a great day for the people of Israel, for their leaders. And it's also a great day for the United States of America as we played a role that we've traditionally played throughout the world in coming in to mediate in difficult situations and achieve peace and achieve prosperity for our friends and neighbors. And again, I'm honored to be a part of the President's team on this. And again, we'll end with congratulations to the President for his leadership, and again to Prime Minister Netanyahu and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Zayed. Thank you very much.